Today's video is all about new construction in Metro Atlanta. We are going to take a look at some of my favorite, most trusted builders building in the Metro Atlanta area, and we are going to look at some of the communities they are in the process of completing right now that I think you need to take a look at. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Living in Atlanta. This YouTube channel is all about helping you get to know what it's like to live in the Metro Atlanta, and today it's all about new construction. And for a lot of the people who reach out to me to relocate here, they just have to have new construction. It's what they want. It's what they need, and it's what they're gonna get. Now, of course, there are pros and cons to buying a new construction home. I have an entire video, actually multiple videos, about the details of what you need to look out for when purchasing new construction. But obviously, some of the more significant pros would just be way less deferred maintenance. You know that a lot of the homes in the Atlanta area in particular can be very, very old. And so one of the main benefits of new construction is everything is going to be new, right? That deferred maintenance is going to be pushed way out into the future. You're going to have warranties, certainly for the first year, probably beyond in the home, and you're going to have the most up-to-date finishes. So I will say, although there can be some downsides to new construction, generally speaking, you're looking at way less stress. Not only after you've moved in and you have a new home that, is fresh and shiny and everything's gonna work, but also in the process up to purchasing new construction. It's a pretty different process than purchasing a resale home, and especially in competitive markets, it's way more straightforward and way less stressful. Another thing to consider is the environment for purchasing new construction right now. The landscape is totally different than what it was a few years ago, and even really a year and a half ago. One of the biggest differences being there are way more options for move-in immediate homes. Now, a few years ago, when interest rates were at rock bottom, there were almost zero opportunities to move directly into a home. The process was you would reserve a lot, and 8 months later, you would have a completed project. The reason being, they were selling these products so quickly because of the low rates. Additionally, in that hot market, you had very little leverage to negotiate with these big companies and what kind of incentives you could get to move in. Because at that point, if you didn't buy it, there was almost definitely someone right behind you ready to throw down their deposit to reserve a lot for a future build. So while the majority of your new construction opportunities are still going to be built on spec, meaning you're going to put down a reservation for a lot, you're going to have a finished product 6 to 9 months later, as I'm looking through these communities and opportunities, we're seeing way more opportunities to move in homes right now. Additionally, we are seeing way more incentives, and we are seeing those in the form of a lot of price reductions, lender incentives for certain communities, and more offers for upgrades without the additional cost that would usually be associated with. And the reason for this should be quite obvious, right? When the interest rates are at rock bottom and the market is red hot, the builders, just like sellers, have the majority of the leverage, and so they're way less likely to do price reductions or incentives. However, anytime the market slows down a little bit, which it has here, as in many other parts of the country because of the higher interest rates, builders, way more so than traditional sellers, get desperate really quick. They do not want to be stuck with undeveloped lots, or even worse, homes that are already completed but have not been spoken for. So yes, interest rates are higher than they were a few years ago. And so your mortgage on a new construction home is probably going to be significantly higher than it would have been when you purchased then. But there's a common phrase in real estate amongst agents and lenders: you date the rate and marry the home. Meaning, obviously you're making a significant commitment when you purchase a home to the house itself and the area, but in terms of the interest rate, as soon as it comes down to your liking, you can refinance, at which point you will have secured the home that you want and then have a much better interest rate in the future. So coupling that with the potential price reduction and incentives that you may get in the buying process, I'd say right now is a very smart time to be looking at new construction. All right, so let's look at some of my favorite, most reputable builders in the Metro Atlanta area, and looking through their website, what are the communities that stand out to me as potential strong value plays that you should take a look at. So the first builder we're going to talk about is Ashton Woods. This is a medium-sized builder. They are headquartered in Atlanta, but also build in other southeastern states. And they have a very good local reputation for building, I'd say, one step above your Toll Brothers or Lennar style quality. And they have a very strong reputation for build quality and service. And in 2023, they were voted Builder of the Year. So I'm on Ashton Woods' website, and we're gonna look through together some of the communities that stood out to me as potentially being really good value. Now, again, value is gonna look very different depending on who you are. If you're looking to be in a very rural area, let's say North Georgia, these communities may not interest you as much. But if you do want to be a reasonable distance from the city, whether you're commuting for work or for leisure, and you don't want to absolutely break the bank in doing so, these are the communities that I've had in mind that I'm going to show you today. So the first one is called Alder Park. And this is in Conyers, Georgia. And I just spoke about Conyers in my recent Most Affordable Neighborhoods in Metro Atlanta video. And so this is an area where I think there's a lot of great value given the proximity to the city and the environment in Conyers itself. So Alder Park ranging from $355 to $393. You can see Conyers here on the map. One of the reasons why I talk about the good value here is just the proximity in town. If you're working here, this is a nice working class area. Now, you're not going to have incredible amenities, immediately like you would in the city. However, easy commute to the airport if you travel quite a bit. Easy commute in the town. If you want to go to Midtown or Buckhead, some of the more popular touristy areas, that's really, I'm going to say 45 minutes at the most. Of course, that's traffic permitting. It's going to depend where you are in Conyers as well. But this is a good location. So let's take another look at this community and see what they're offering. So this is their Oliver home plan. You could see you get a 2-car garage, which is extremely desirable in the southeast here. And in terms of the specs, you're looking at 4 beds, 2.5 baths, about 1,900 square feet, 2 stories for $355,000. And this is brand new construction. If you're comparing this with resale in the area, it almost doesn't make sense not to do this. If you found this same spec home in terms of size for a resale home in this area, it probably wouldn't be much cheaper. In fact, it may be more expensive. So new construction is not always a great option. However, there are certain market conditions which bring it much closer to your resale value, and this would be one of them. Toggling through the photos here, it looks like you're gonna have a few different options for exterior paint. As we look at the home, now look, you're not gonna have the highest end finishes in this $355,000 model. You're gonna have vinyl flooring, you're gonna have some carpet, but it is gonna be brand new. You are gonna have nice new shaker cabinets, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, in both the kitchen island and the bathroom vanities. So this definitely is a no frills option, but again, if you're set on new construction and you're operating in a sub $400,000 price point, you care how far you are from the city, options like these are something you should be paying attention to. And again, if we look at the unique opportunities this market is affording, we have 4 home plans, we have 5 quick move-ins available. So these are homes that are already built that you can move into potentially immediately, which is very different from what it was a year or 2 ago. The next Ashton Woods community I want you to look at is called Parkview, and this is in West Midtown. So this is a great option if you really want to be in the heart of the city. So West Midtown is an area that's not an official moniker. Some people call it Upper West Side Provisions District, but outside of Midtown and Buckhead, this is one of the best shopping retail districts in all of Atlanta. And not only is there high-end great retail shopping, but it also has some of the best restaurants. It's also close to the Beltline and the new West Side Park, which is actually bigger than Piedmont Park. So this is a high-end area that is still up and coming in some ways. And so this community, Parkview, is a townhome community ranging from $402,000 to $490,000. We'll take a look at what some of these finishes are looking like. Now this is townhomes, so if you don't want any shared walls, obviously this option isn't going to be good for you, but we're in town, so it's a little bit more realistic. And again, looking at their site, there's 5 home plans and there's 3 quick move-ins available, so there's options to move in right away. So looking at their most budget-friendly option, they have the Hummingbird and the Indigo, which are starting at $402,000. These are 3-bed, 2.5 bath townhomes at almost 1,400 square feet, 2 stories, and 1 garage. And I'm telling you, those specs, new construction in this area is really good value. This is an area in the city with more amenities close by than almost any other part of town. Unfortunately for this community, there's not a ton of photos available on the finishes. However, there is a nice Matterport tour, so you can get a really good sense for the floor plan. The exterior looks modern and nice. I really like the color scheme. And again, the finishes are going to be comparable to everything else we're looking at today. Nice tile backsplash, new shaker cabinets, nice new stainless steel appliances. So you're gonna be up to date with the modern trends. But again, if you wanna really live in town close to a lot of fun things to do, but you really are a fan of new construction, this is a new construction community I would definitely put on your radar. All right, third and final community I want to show you for Ashton Woods is called Laurelwood. This is in Douglasville, Georgia, which was also on my list of most affordable neighborhoods in the Atlanta area. And we're looking at a price point starting at $295,000, which in terms of how prices have increased in Atlanta over the last few years, I think is really good value. Now, Douglasville isn't the most desirable neighborhood to be in, but again, it's going to be a very convenient commute in town. It's kind of a quiet suburban / rural area, typically a good place if you're looking for a larger plot of land. Generally speaking, a very safe area. So let's look at Laurelwood and see what kind of value we're getting starting at $295,000. So again, this is a townhome community, and the specs are 3 beds, 2.5 baths, 1507 to 1801 square feet, 2 stories with a 1 to 2 car garage, depending on what model you get. The finishes, again, are going to be very similar to the ones that we've been seeing. Nice open floor plan, new cabinetry, new everything. I like the look of the floors here. Carpet, again, very typical for new construction communities at this price point. This does look to be a swim tennis community, which obviously is a huge benefit for many people. But again, I'm just stressing value. If you're looking for a $295,000 to $327,000 resale home in Douglasville right now, you know, it may be a detached option, but it's not going to be as nice as this in terms of the level of finish, being new, dealing with no deferred maintenance. So I was actually really encouraged researching for this video that there are some still really good affordable new construction options with a reasonable commute to the city. All right, so as always, I'm running long. We spent a lot of time in Ashton Woods. Let's look at another really reputable builder, a very prominent builder, Tracy Homes. You've probably heard of them. And just one note, right? A lot of people get very nervous by the big builders, the Pulte, the Lennar, the Toll Brothers. And look, when you do the sheer quantity, the sheer volume of developing that they do, it's only natural that you're going to have probably the most amount of complaints or bad reviews for those communities. However, you should also realize that their ability to stay in business this long indicates that although I'm sure they make many missteps, generally speaking, these are reputable builders. In fact, in my experience in real estate, the biggest horror stories with new construction come with builders that don't have a long track record, that are maybe just getting started or maybe do things at a very small volume. They don't necessarily have the infrastructure and systems in place to deliver a consistently good product. So again, there are pros and cons and things you need to look out for new construction. I've made other videos about that, but if you're going to be nervous, I would be less nervous about the big builders than I would so about the new unestablished builders. That being said, I do like Pulte. I've worked with them before and had good experiences. So let's take a look at their website and check out a community that caught my eye. All right, so we're on the Pulte website, and this is called Anderson Point in McDonough, Georgia. And this is an area I'm a huge fan of. Now, this is to the southeast, so it doesn't get as much shine as a lot of the neighborhoods that we talk about to the north. However, this is a great suburb of Atlanta. Safe, good schools, still good value. In terms of commute, you're definitely going to be closer to 45 minutes to an hour. However, if there's no traffic, that could be less. So it's very traffic specific, but this is a suburb of Atlanta that continues to grow and add amenities in the area. They're really beefing up their downtown. I was super impressed when I spent time there last. And as I'm going to show you, there's really good value for new construction. So we're looking at 2,390 to 3,922 square feet homes. These are single family detached homes, not townhomes, starting at $365,000. We can just run through the photos for their Aspire model, which is the most affordable option in the community at the moment, and take a look at what finishes we see. And so nice open floor plan, still doing shiplap, but we're adding some color accents to it. So this looks really good to me. Very open, which people still seem to really like. You're gonna get the same kitchen that we've been seeing in all of these. And look, when we're talking new construction, again, pros and cons, it's not necessarily a con, but you're not gonna get a ton of diversity in terms of finishes, right? Builders go for mass appeal, broad appeal, right? And so if you want something very custom, that's going to be more on an individual basis with, a solo builder, not one of these large companies. So, but, typically you find with clients looking for new construction, they want the typical in vogue finishes that you're seeing today. So this looks like a very spacious layout. Looks like we have an additional sitting area on the upper level. I like all the finishes that I'm seeing. Simple, clean, modern. I think very much going to hold up for the next 5 to 10 years, purely in terms of style. So honestly, if you're looking to be in the suburbs of Atlanta and you're at a sub $400,000 price point, you're really interested in new construction, Anderson Point, Pulte Homes at McDonough, this is a perfect example of what looks like really good value. And they're advertising right on their site, special financing, 30-year fixed rate, 5.5%, 6.2% APR. So you got to read the fine print, and that's going to be highly variable to your qualifications as a buyer. But there are a lot of incentives available that were not available a couple years ago. And like I've been saying, there are move in right now options available. So take a look at Pulte. Don't be scared by it being a big builder. They're doing some communities with really good value. All right, moving on to the next builder, we're gonna look at Tracy Homes, which is another large established builder, been building since 1971. And we're gonna look at the range of communities that they're offering right now. I think there's a lot of interesting options. So looking at their website here, the first one is Avonbrook in Mableton. Again, that was on my list of neighborhoods with really good value in Atlanta. And this is a single family detached new construction home for $458,000. So although it is an area in Mableton where, it's not one of the most popular neighborhoods like in Alpharetta, it is extremely convenient in town. You're in Cobb County. You're close to where the Braves play, close to downtown Marietta. Anytime you're on the Cobb County side, generally, broadly speaking, you're going to be having an easier commute to the airport than you would from, say, the Gwinnett side. So this looks like a really good option for me. For those of you who are commuting in town, you want a new construction detached option. And this is a large home with a 2-car garage. And I think it's a nice modern style. They have multiple Cobb County options, which is obviously going to be very important for families who need good quality schools that Cobb County is known for. Looking at townhome options, Bluffs at Bells Ferry in Marietta for $414,000. Again, some of you aren't going to like the attached options, but you would not be able to purchase something new in this area at this price point if it was not attached. Now, this brings up another good point as we look at communities in Ackworth and Canton. Obviously, the further you go out from the heart of the city, the further your dollar is going to go, right? So, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm kind of skewing towards people who want to be at least kind of close to the city. But I know many of you don't care at all how close you are from the city of Atlanta. And if that's you, depending on where you need to commute to, you're going to have way more options and you're probably going to get more bang for your buck. So an area like Ackworth, $395,000. Canton, I'm actually surprised this is expensive as it is, $526,000. I'm going to assume this is a much larger home, and honestly, the finishes look higher end than you would typically see. Cumming, which is a fantastic suburb of Atlanta towards the north near Lake Lanier, $572,000. Cumming is an area with a lot of new construction. If you're, looking for a neighborhood where you have a lot of new construction options, Cumming is definitely going to be a place that should be on your radar. I'm also looking at Riverwalk Place in Lawrenceville, starting at $392,000. Talked about Lawrenceville repeatedly on this channel. Gwinnett County, typically very good schools, really good for youth sports and for at-need, at-risk children. Lawrenceville has a great downtown. You know, it's very trafficy here, but it's also not far from the city of Atlanta, and it's growing like gangbusters. So to me, that looks like really good value. We also have options for around $463,000 in Kennesaw and $490,000 in Woodstock. So a lot of good Cobb County options that Tracy Homes is building, and there's a lot of benefits to living in those areas. And so as I'm looking through all of these options, just purely based off price point and knowing that it's new construction, to me, there seems to be some good value here, especially factoring in many instances, you're not going to have to wait 8 months and you're going to be able to move right in. And the last builder I want to share with you is going to be Toll Brothers. Now, again, I mentioned previously, I'm sure you may have heard someone have a bad circumstance with Toll Brothers, and certainly if that happened locally here, you know, definitely pay attention to that. However, this is one of the most prolific builders in the country, and so they're bound to have some missteps. Generally speaking, though, I can tell you from experience, they do deliver on what they say they're going to do, and the reps that work there are typically experienced and professional. So I see no reason to avoid Toll Brothers or Pulte or Lennar. Again, the established builders that have been building here for years are less likely to really deliver a bad experience, less so than these less established, less reputable, newer builders. But looking at more in-town options, all the options we've discussed so far have really been in the suburbs or more rural areas, except for the West Midtown community. And this one really appealed to me because this is in city of Decatur, which you've watched the channel, you understand what that can mean in terms of being inside the perimeter in town and having high quality public schools and a safe, you know, family kind of oriented neighborhood. Also, you've heard me talk about how dense and walkable downtown Decatur is, which is a rarity in Atlanta. So this community, Park 108, is in Oakhurst, which is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in Atlanta. And again, this is in town, right? So this is 20 minutes to Midtown, 25 minutes to Buckhead. This is 25 minutes to the airport. So you're going to have all the amenities you could hope for. And of course, you're in Decatur. So you're going to have Decatur Square, downtown Decatur, walking distance for you here, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to point this option out. And so we have multiple move-in ready options, condo options in this beautiful building in Decatur. Looking at your cheapest option is going to be a studio, so very small, but it is $249,000. If you're single, you want to buy, you want to be in an area to be able to walk around, a lot of things to do, that could actually make sense. If you want a 1-1, that's going to start at $354,000, and you know, this goes all the way up to 2 2s at nearly 1,300 square feet, priced for $544,000. So it definitely does get pricey, but of course you really have to understand what part of town you're in and just how desirable it is and all the amazing amenities that are going to be close by. If I was maybe a younger person who needed to be in the city, maybe you work in healthcare at the CDC or Emory, you want to buy, you don't want to rent, a smaller condominium option like this really could be great. And you know, not only is the location good, but this is not really a cookie cutter building. This is a nice looking brick or concrete building. It's got a nice curb appeal, even though it's a condominium. And in terms of the finishes, it seems like, you know, they're even starting to incorporate some more color, which is typically where it looks like interior design is trending a little bit, just in terms of, you know, we have non-white cabinet options here, starting to add in some darker contrast on the island and vanities. And of course, on the Toll Brothers site, there are a lot of other communities that have quick move-in options available. You know, you can go up to nearly $1 million in Vinings, which is an extremely high-end area in Cobb County inside the perimeter, all the way down to your studio one-bed options in the mid to high 2s in Decatur and Oakhurst. So some good options with Toll Brothers in addition to the other builders that I mentioned. So there you have it, 4 reputable builders building communities right now that look like, to me, have a lot of great options and a lot of great value, especially compared to your current resale options. In fact, just as a general rule of thumb, I would say as interest rates come up, very often, depending on the location you're talking about, new construction makes more and more sense, especially in light of the fact that the incentives that we're commonly seeing and the opportunity to move in right away, which I'm telling you a couple years ago was simply not an option. So there's a lot else that can be said about purchasing new construction. You definitely really need to make sure that you have someone who understands the contracts. Okay, when you purchase new construction, you're using the builder's contracts, whereas with resale, you're using the Georgia Association of Realtor forms. There's nothing wrong with the builder contracts. Of course, you really have to go through them and understand what you're committing to. It's not really a case of them trying to get you with some loophole. It's more of a case of you need to have clear expectations about what's going to happen. For instance, once you put down your earnest money deposit on a lot, you don't really have a due diligence period like you do with resale, right? So the whole framework of the transaction is a little bit different. I do strongly recommend you still work with a realtor to purchase your new construction. Most of the builders have the commission for your buyer's broker already built in. So this is a free service that they can provide you. And you'll have a realtor going through the contracts, telling you what to look out for, keeping you updated on timelines. If you're out of state, I'm often checking in on the status of the build if you did buy a spec home, right? To make sure that they are tracking with the timeline that they gave you. So look, if you just want to go to a builder and put down a lot, you'll probably be okay. But from my perspective, especially since they have it earmarked, the commission for agents, you might as well find an agent in the area that you're looking who has experience with new construction and let them take on a lot of that burden for you. But I really think now is the time. If you're that new construction kind of buyer, it speaks to you, that's your vibe, so to speak, this is the time to really start looking at it, in my opinion. You're gonna see interest rates eventually come down, and when that happens, demand and prices are going to shoot up significantly. And that does not mean it will be a bad time to purchase new construction when that does happen. It just means you are not going to have some of the benefits and incentives that we currently do as builders, are really nervous to get everything offloaded so that they can continue to build their next community. So I hope that helped. I hope that kind of got your mind going of what builders to look into. It's a less straightforward process because builders often don't put their new construction home communities on Zillow or the MLS, so you do need to do some independent research using Google. But I do think there's some really good value in the new construction communities here in the Atlanta area right now. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment below for topics that you want to see. Any feedback, I'm always looking to improve this channel. And of course, relocations and helping people purchase homes and sell homes in the Atlanta area is what we do. So if you feel like I could be a good fit for you, if you like the material that I put out the right vibes, then you can work with me. You can use the link in the description of this video to get on my Calendly calendar. You can book a Zoom call with me whenever works for you. It's a completely free, no obligation consultation. You can also email me or text me or call me, whatever you want to do. But I love when my viewers become clients. So thanks so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you next time.